Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am way behind the times on this one, but I don't even care. In my hands, I have the Beauté Flair palette, and for ages I have had it in the old formula. Well, I just replaced it with the new formula, and I want to compare the two to see how they perform against each other. If you're new here, my name is Rachel. Hello. I like to play with colorful eyeshadow, and I upload several videos a week. It's all eyeshadow related content. If you're interested in seeing that, I hope that you will consider sticking around, liking, and subscribing before you go. Let's talk about these palettes. Okay, so if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you might know that the Flair palette from Beauté is one of my all-time favorite palettes. Like, I got it pretty early in my eyeshadow journey, and it has consistently ranked like top 5 in my whole collection. This is the Flair palette from Beauté. I think the color story is just beautiful. I think it's really interesting, really inspiring. It's more autumn leaning, obviously. It's a beautiful autumn palette, but then it has really unique pops of color, and I'm always filled with ideas when I look at this color story. I decided to buy it in the new formulation because Beauté, if you're not aware, they had launched a bunch of palettes and they got kind of mixed reviews. People generally liked the colors, but they weren't in love with the formula. So Beauté, to their credit, took the constructive criticism, reformulated everything, and re-released all of those palettes. So I think that started with their Paradise collection and everything from there. Anyway, they re-released the Flair palette in the new formula. And I have had rather a spotty relationship with Beauté because all of the palettes that I'd tried until recently, a couple of them I knew were in the old formula, such as the Flair palette and also Oceanic, but then I had two that were supposed to be in the new formula. I had Paradise Fallen, and then I had the Violet Sage palette. Paradise Fallen, I felt performed exactly like the old, so I did buy that secondhand. Maybe I was lied to, not sure. And then the Violet Sage palette, I've heard was possibly not manufactured in their regular facility because it was part of a subscription box. So maybe that wasn't the new formula as well. I'm not sure. I had pretty much given up on the brand until I heard about the Paletopoly palette and what phenomenal quality it was. One of my favorite YouTubers is Aniela Kniekvist, and she said that the Paletopoly palette and Beauté's newest formulation is one of her all-time favorite formulas, period. And I have the same eyeshadow aesthetic as Angie, so I thought, you know, if she's loving this formulation and she has this huge amount of experience with eyeshadow, there must be something to it. So I decided to buy the Paletopoly palette and give it a try, and it has quickly risen to become another of my favorite palettes. So the new formulation of Beauté is good. So I decided to get the Flair palette when they were having a sale on their website. Usually it's $34. I got it for $16, I think. Anyway, I decided to get it in the new formula, and that's something I've never done before, is replace a palette I already own in a newer version. But again, this palette has so highly ranked in my collection for the 2 years that I've been doing eyeshadow, and I really enjoy the formula of the Paletopoly palette, and I thought, if I can get this color story, which I know I love, in a formula which I way prefer to the old formula, I think it's worth 16 bucks. So that's what I did. Let me show them to you guys side by side. You can see that Beauté did a really wonderful job, honestly, of capturing the exact same colors in the new formulation. When I'm looking at it, this purple looks to be a tiny bit brighter, perhaps with a hint more pink. This shadow here looks a bit different. Up here it looks like a cranberry shimmer, and here it looks like it has a bit more wine, again with a pinky tone to it. Their website says that this shade here is a multi-chrome, or I think maybe a duochrome. I have to double check. It says it's something other than just a standard shimmer. Let me put these back for you. Sorry, I'm a bit clumsy. Aside from that, I don't really see any color variants. This one here looks to be maybe a tiny bit more blood orange, not quite as muted as this shade, which is great. And this one maybe has a hint more peach in it. I don't know. You can see they're very, 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 very close. So what I'm going to do today, that was a long intro, but what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do the same eye look, old palette on one eye, new palette on the other eye, and then I'm going to let you guys try to guess which palette is on which eye. And really it's a matter of formulation. For me, I expect the eye looks to turn out the same. It's just a matter of how the formulas perform, because I'm pretty familiar with how this one performs. I've already primed my eyes. I used the Glam Light Icing Primer in the shade Buttercream. Everything I'm using is linked down below in the description box. So let's zoom in and get going. I recently bought brushes from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. These are linked down below as well. I have 2 sets, so I'm going to use 1 set for the old palette and 1 set for the new palette. I'm going to make sure they're cleaned off, and it's going to be really quick through the eye look because I don't have much time. I think my baby's going to wake up soon. Also, I had considered swatching for you guys, but honestly, I don't have the time to swatch. So I apologize if you were hoping to see swatches, but quite frankly, I'm like a year behind on this whole Ace Beauté's new formulation video. This is really just a matter of comparing the Flair palette old to new because I happen to have both of them in my possession and I haven't yet sold the old one. Taking a Blend Bunny B2 brush, I am taking the shade Cider, and I'm going to start this on my inner corner. I kind of want to match my shirt colors today, even though it's very 1970s. I just thought that would be fun. Again, in the comments, let me know which eye do you think is the old formula and which eye do you think is the new formula. And at the end, I will tell you which one's which, see if you're right, and I'll also tell you my thoughts on how they perform. Now with a B4 brush, I'm going into Atlantis, and I'm going to place this on my outer corner. And I'll blend it into my crease and meet up with that yellow. I have to be careful blending the yellow and the blue because they could look muddy. I'm just going to meet them and really carefully work at the edge of the two where they come together and try not to overpower. If my yellow crosses into the blue a lot, I'll get green. And I don't really want green. I think I want to keep it more yellow and blue. Okay, so my baby woke up and I'm finishing this video with her on my lap. Hopefully she lets me. It's just that kind of day. I did want to let you know I took a clean blending brush and any kind of face powder, setting powder. You could use a bone matte eyeshadow, and I just blended out the edges of the blue because there was no blending out shade in the palette. So now I've got a flat brush. I only have one of these, so I'm going to clean it off between palettes, but I'm going to use this to add in some shimmer. So I've loaded up the shade Biscotti and I'm going to spray it. I like to spray my shimmers because they help me control fallout, they help me be a little bit more precise, and I'm going to use this on my entire lid space. Now, the website mentioned that the new formulation has Biscotti as a duochrome. In the original palette, it's definitely not. It's more of a standard shimmer. So I'm curious to see how the new one performs and if it looks any different on the eye. That's one of the reasons, besides the actual color, that I'm laying it over the whole lid space, because for duo or multi-chromes, they really perform best when they have a lot of real estate to show off all the shifts. I've cleaned off this flat brush and I'm going into Biscotti in the other palette. Alright, so I'm now taking the other palette and applying that shimmer on my lid space as well. Now, I know that some newer formulations of eyeshadows in general perform better if you use your fingers. So I'm going to give both of these a fighting chance and apply them both with my finger on top of what I've done with the brush. Can you tell the difference between the colors or the color payoff? Or, I mean, at this point, there should be a multi-chrome on my lid. So can we see that? Can we tell? Going into Biscotti with my finger. In the first palette, I'm placing it right over top. Now I'm going to clean off my finger and go into the other palette in Biscotti, and this one's more awkward because I used the wrong finger, but I'll put that down as well. Now I think I'll clean off my finger, and I want to take the shade Bayberry, which is the blue shimmer, and put that right where the champagne-y shimmer meets the blue mattes. Just help transition a little bit into the next color. I wasn't nervous doing today's video in terms of having two different eye looks. In the actual colors themselves, I knew they'd be close enough. It's really a matter of maybe one's a bit shinier or has that duochrome, or, I don't know, looks better quality. I'm not sure. You'll have to tell me which one you think is which. I'm going to do something on my lower lash line. What should I do on my lower lash line? I think I'll take the B4 again and go... Oh, I think I'll go into Mulberry. Place this on most of my lower lash line. For me, the biggest difference between the old and the new formula is going to be in the shimmers, because I didn't feel the mattes were so objectionable that I couldn't keep the palette. It was more the shimmers than anything else. They were very dry and kind of thin and just not very exciting, especially as eyeshadow and indie companies in particular have advanced. One of the biggest determining factors for me as far as an improvement in their quality is the shimmers. I think I'm noticing a difference in this mulberry shade. On this eye, it looks more plummy, and on this eye, it looks a little more blue-based. I mean, they're primed the same. Can you guys see what I mean? I'm going to take a smudger brush back into Atlantis and put that in my outer corner. On the lower lash line, sorry. Outer corner, lower lash line, just to bring in a bit of the blue and a bit of depth. This is the only smudger brush I have, so I'll clean it off, go back into the other Atlantis, put that over here. You know I can't resist this green. This is a small blending brush in the shade Sherbet. I'm going to put that right here as pop at the inner corner. Grab Sherbet in the other palette. I am loving a matte inner corner highlight. Love it. Pastel matte. Beautiful. I think I'll put yellow in my waterline. This is actually more of a metallic marigold. It is from ColourPop and it's the shade Two Can Do It from their Lush Life series. This is now part of their newly improved waterproof eyeliner creme gel series. So you can find this color again, which used to be discontinued, on their website. It's linked down below in my description box. It's gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna go off camera and finish everything up. I'll be right back. Okay, while I tell you what I did to finish everything up, I'd love you to put in the comments which side you think is which side is old, and which side do you think is new. On my waterline, as you know, I put Two Can Do It. On my lips, I'm wearing ColourPop Glowing Lip in the shade Desert Aura. On my face, I did a little bit of this blush from ColourPop. It's from their Mulan collection. The shade is called Matchmaker. I don't know why I bought this. This was the first blush I ever bought, and I clearly had no idea what I was doing because it's basically my skin tone. And then I used the Tulum palette from BH Cosmetics. There are two highlighters in here, and I used this one. So that's what I've got on my face. Now my other child is crying. It is a day. But anyway, which side do you think? Let me know in the comments which one you think, or if you guessed correctly. This is the old side, and this is the new side. So let me tell you my thoughts. The first color I laid down, that yellow matte, it was much more pigmented over here, but it had more of an orangey depth to it, whereas this side was lighter, and it blended out easier over here. And the same thing went for the blue matte. This one actually blended out to be sort of a grungy gray undertone, which I don't like. It blended out over here to be a little bit more transparent, so it actually softened into my skin tones as opposed to just being a different shade on my skin. As far as the shimmers go, they definitely apply better with my finger. This side is definitely looking brighter. Let me tell you about my lighting situation. I have a ring light right here. There's a window slightly at an angle, but in front of me. There's a lamp over there, and there's a window over here. So I have more natural light coming onto this side of my face, and that could be hitting this exposed part of the lid more than it's hitting this exposed part of the lid. What? I will say that the new formulation for the shimmers did perform and feel much nicer. It felt like higher quality. It is more of the putty shimmer formula that you're seeing in a lot of indie brands like Glamlight, Beauty Bay. It's a little bit more putty like that, whereas the older shimmers were a lot more dry. There was kick up in the pans of the old formula, but not nearly as much in the new formula. I would say overall, I do prefer the formula of the new palette. I like the undertones better. I like the way that it blended out better, and the shimmers are nicer as well. However, the purple matte on my lower lash line, that one definitely had different undertones. I mean, I even put concealer on to try to even out the skin tone a bit there. Both of the under eyes had eye primer, and the one on the side looks more of a soft lavendery purple, whereas over here I feel like it's got a bit of a bluish gray hue, which is interesting. I actually think I prefer the undertones of the old palette to the undertones of the new palette when it comes to that shade. I haven't tried all of the shadows. I love the palette, so I'm glad to have it in the newer formula. It was 16 bucks. It's not the end of the world. I've spent more at Starbucks, but I'm not certain if it was worth putting out that money or simply maybe taking the shades that I liked best in the old palette and combining them with any of the other hundreds of shadows that I have elsewhere in my collection. I'm not sure. Tell me below in the comments what you think. Do you think the eyes look the same? Do they look like one is better quality? Or maybe one does have that duochrome shift that is claimed for the biscotti color? I would love to hear your thoughts. And let me know if you have experience with Beauté. Have you had things in their old formula? Can you compare to the new formula? I love the Paletopoly palette. And like I said, I'm glad to have Flair in a new and improved and more recent formulation. It will last me longer. So thank you very much for being with me here today. I'm sorry about all the interruptions and the back and forth and the video cutouts. I was really trying to get this video done at 4 o'clock this morning when I first woke up with the baby, and it took me an hour and a half to settle her. Yes, you. She can barely keep her eyes open. She's so tired. And then when I did settle her and I crept downstairs to have some time for myself, my husband got up to study. And then I remembered that we had to take him to work because we needed the car later in the day. So it has been that kind of a day, and I really just wanted to get a little time to myself. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, but that's okay. I hope you guys understand. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me. It's not usually this scatterbrained, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye!